Welcome to the Fashion Insiders podcast. This is your source for straight-talking, no-fluff fashion business conversations that add real value to the way passionate fashion entrepreneurs live, work, and thrive. Having the courage to start your own fashion brand and business, design, develop, and manufacture your products can be a tough and lonely process. It may not be easy, but it can be simple. I'm your host, Desi, and I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a fashion entrepreneur and brand owner so that you can launch and grow a fashion business that is profit-rich, efficient, and can scale online and offline. And when done right, it allows you to generate a real tangible wealth for yourself and others. Let's go. Hey there, it's Desi, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Fashion Insiders & Co podcast. In today's episode, we are talking about selling your products, or rather, why are your products not selling? Now, if you're listening to this podcast episode, the chances are that you either are in business already and you are not selling or not selling enough, or you are looking to launch your brand soon. And in either of these two cases, this episode will be invaluable to you. Because let me give you a little bit of a backstory. The reason today I've decided to record this episode, despite having a completely different plan and a different topic planned, was simply because in the last few weeks, I have had quite a lot of people contact me who wanted help with marketing and sales from me, which was quite unusual because, as you know, I don't necessarily promote my business as helping with marketing and sales, even though this is a huge result as a result of working with me or consuming the content I put out. But also the topic of marketing and sales specifically has really come up a lot with the clients I work with. And especially yesterday I had 4 different conversations with clients and new brand founders. And literally every conversation was on that topic of why are they not selling or how are they going to sell, and the sort of the blocks and worries they had about it around that topic. And that was it took me by surprise, especially having 4 literally of the same conversations in one day. It came as a little bit of a surprise. And when I sat down and thought about it, and when I reflected on everything that literally I repeated myself from one conversation to the next, and what I was saying and discussing with these brands, it occurred to me of how much misunderstanding there is around the topic of marketing, specifically within the fashion sector. I think there's a lot of marketing content, a lot of marketeers, a lot of marketing courses that a lot of brand founders are consuming. And I find from what I see that a lot of the courses and content out there is not necessarily aimed at fashion brands. And I specifically say fashion brands because to sell fashion is slightly different from just selling other products to people. So just because you're a product-based business and an e-commerce doesn't mean that, the marketing that you would learn and apply in order to get the results that you want for your fashion business are going to be exactly the same. And the second thing I find a lot with the marketing courses and content out there is that it's kind of a little bit outdated and it very much scratches the surface, or it doesn't in a practical way show fashion brand founders how to apply that knowledge to market their products to an oversaturated market. And though I'm not a marketeer, I think that marketing has become a really big part of my business. And also I have learned so much over the last over the last 10 years about marketing, specifically because I had to market the platform that I was working for 6 years. Those of you who have followed me a long time, you would know that I was the founder of a fashion manufacturing platform called Untitled. And I was building this platform from scratch for 6 years. And learning how to market it was like baptism by fire. There was like such a steep learning curve. But then also, reiterating what I've learned and applying it to this business and how I market Fashion Insiders, and all the marketing I do with the brands I work with has really turned me into a marketeer of sorts. But more to the point, it has really given me a real insight into why conventional marketing that's taught out there doesn't work necessarily effectively for fashion brands of today. So let me dig into the topic and in a very kind of succinct way try to enlighten you and present you some ideas that you can apply to your business and hopefully spot and understand why you're either not making any sales, if that's the case, and that was the case of, 2 out of the 4 brands I spoke to yesterday, or why you're not making enough sales, which were another of the conversations I had yesterday. So here's the thing. You have 2 problems as a brand who has launched and in business. You're either not selling at all, which is very often the problem of newly launched brands. They launch with huge expectations that after all the hard work that they have put, all the money they have spent on making products, on launching their website, photography, etc., they have these huge expectations that all of a sudden they're going to, if not sell out, they're going to sell a lot. And the reality is completely the opposite. The reality is that they get 0 for a long time. And they start spinning their wheels and they start, experimenting with all kinds of types of marketing and messaging, etc., and nothing is happening. And then they start talking to a lot of people giving them advice, and they get more and more lost as to what they're doing. And also they stop being able, if they were able at all, to understand why it's not working for them. So I'll go into in a second as to why that is. But the second problem is that you're launched, you're in business, you're selling, but literally 2-3 years down the line, why are you not selling more? Why are you still like month to month struggling and really fighting hard for every sale that you make? Why is it not getting easier? And that is because of another set of problems that I will touch on in a second. So there's 4 actually problems or reasons why you may not be selling your products. And they are that your product is wrong, that your price is wrong, that your audience is misaligned or you're targeting the wrong audience, and that your messaging is not connecting to the target audience or to the audience that you're marketing to. So these are 4 key areas that everyone needs to audit on and everyone needs to make sure that are working properly in order for you to generate sales or increase your sales. So if you are newly launched and not selling at all, the problems that you would be encountering are misalignment with your target audience and the way you're marketing to them. And what I see a lot of is people who launch and they think that they know who their target audience is, and they start taking pictures, going on photo shoots, creating more product, and marketing, and nothing is working. And then they often tell me that even Facebook ads and Google ads are not working. Well, of course they're not going to work if you are not targeting the right audience and if you're not connecting and your messaging is not right for that audience. If everything is not working organically, Facebook ads are not going to work for you either, or any sort of paid advertising is just not going to work. Step number 1 of any process is making sure that you know who is the right target audience that you are speaking to, and you know how to connect and convert them. And the problem that I see, or the challenge rather, let's not use the word problem, but the challenge for young brands, for newly launched brands, is that when they launch, assuming that they know who their target audience is, they then do not validate that target audience. And what really needs to happen is that you must launch with the assumption that you think you know who your target audience is, but then you need to go out there with the mentality, I need to validate that assumption, because your thinking is just an assumption. Until you have sales and you analyze the sales and they match who you thought your audience is, it's an assumption. And once you start trying to sell your product and you start selling it, then you see and find out who your real audience is. Because until someone parts with their cash, until someone buys your product, they are not a customer, and therefore they are not your target audience. or you don't know who your target audience is. So I have worked with a lot of brands who have been in that situation, a lot of brand founders who went out with an idea that their target audience is, I don't know, I'll give you a specific example. I was working with someone who thought that their target audience was women in their 20s and 30s, right? And her product was of a price point that was around the £200 price point. And it was also quite traditional in design. So she kept on trying to market to this audience, and she was really not making any sales because this target audience is quite trend led, and also it's quite price conscious. So her product was not something that they were really interested in, and willing to spend a lot of money because it was of the moment, it was a hit, it was on trend, and also it was a considerable amount of money for their age group, and they could find that product of that design and style much cheaper elsewhere. So she wasn't selling, but she was making some sales. And when I asked her to analyze her sales, literally it took her months. But when she eventually analyzed her buyers and asked questions of the buyers that she didn't know, she soon realized that her customers were completely different profile. They were in their 40s and 50s, and they were they had the spending power, and they were not interested in trends. They were interested in really well-made product that was classic and elegant and timeless in design, which is what her product was. And they were willing to spend the money because it was well made, and they knew that they would get a lot of wear out of this product. And when she finally realized, and when the data showed her that her assumption of her target audience was wrong, but actually her target audience and confirmed customers was somewhere else, and she pivoted her marketing towards targeting that particular audience, her sales increased. And that is because she found her alignment. And then when she knew why her customers were buying and what was important for them and what it was that made them convert to buy her product and not somewhere else, not go to the high street and buy a cheaper product, etc., she was able to then start market to their needs and desires and tap into those emotions. And then conversion was really simple. Now, she in time is going to have the problem of, why am I not selling more? But we'll get to that in a second. As you can probably see, it's really important to go out and validate who your customers are. And when you're really early in your journey and you're not really sure, you need to start with who you think your customer is, but then expand, go beyond that, go and try different sort of, similar types to who you think your ideal customer is. Go up in age or go down in age, experiment and see where you're generating sales. And when I say experiment and generating sales, I don't mean within your friends group and family, because you don't want sales out of love and support for you. You want strangers to buy your product. And ideally, at the beginning especially, I would encourage you as much as possible to find ways in person to make those sales so that you can see the person, so that you can talk to the person and understand their motivation and what is pushing them to convert and buy your product, because that's a lot of invaluable data that you would get from these one-to-one interactions with those customers, and you would understand the psychology and the profile, and then you would understand better how to go and find more customers like this. And when you get more sales, then that would validate your assumption or disprove them, and it would help you to really understand who your target market is. And through those conversations you would have had with them, you would understand how to market to them. Okay, so that is the first problem, which is really important to solve if you're completely new and making no sales at all. Now, the second problem is when you have this knowledge and when you have found your alignment with your target market, it's really important how you market to them. If you have read my book, if you have got a copy of my book, Become a Fashion Insider, there is a whole chapter on marketing. And there's I think, a couple of chapters on finding your niche customer, finding your target market and how to market to them. But you would find in one of the chapters the concept of painkiller or vitamin products. or rather, let's say, in this saturated market that we have in the fashion industry now, with so many brands, with so much available, and with the reality that really and truly nobody needs another shoe, bag, garment. It's not needed. We have plenty to last us for the rest of our life. And yet we want new. And yet, we want to create more brands because we think we have something new to offer to people, and we want our passion for products and fashion, etc., to be what we do as a business and as a livelihood. So in that case, it's really important that you create a good product that is going to sell, but also that there's need or desire for that product. So when I speak of need, you need to find a niche or a gap in the market for a product that is going to solve a problem that people have. And when you have a problem-solving product, then and an audience, because you identify those gaps in the market through speaking to people and understanding, there's a problem that it looks like no one really has solved, or solved it in a really efficient manner, that maybe I can be the new solution. When you know and that need for solving a certain problem is validated by your research, etc., and you create a product, then you know how to go and target that audience and how to market to them. Then the marketing becomes easy. Or the second product group is products that are desirable. People just want to buy them. They love it so much when they see it, they can't stop thinking about it, and they just want to have it. And when you have products that are either problem solving or are desirable, and you know who your target audience is and you know how to market to them, because you know that either you're going to market to them by identifying the problem and positioning yourself as the problem solving brand, or you're going to market to them because your product is beautiful and desirable and you know how to tap into that emotion of that desire that exists within people for products like yours, then it's really easy to sell to these people. And quite frankly, you might have people and some customers that are a bit more price conscious, or you would have customers that are not price conscious. Money is not an issue. But regardless, when people either have a problem or they have a desire, they find the money. But you just have to market to them in the right way, to tap into that emotion that they have, to trigger that emotion, and leave them to figure out how they're going to pay for that product, your product in this case, right? Now, what happens here, the problem that I see here with conventional marketing applied to fashion businesses is that a lot of marketeers encourage people to create an ideal profile of a customer. And sometimes, brands go and create one profile, but because it's not selling, they start analyzing it and over-analyzing it and deciding that it doesn't work because it's only one profile, but actually they have different customers, and they start creating different profiles of different type of customers. And it's almost like too many profiles all of a sudden, and they just get lost in how to market at the same time to all of these different profiles of customers. Or they have one profile of customer, and then they start trying to find almost like a needle in a haystack, just trying to market to this one customer. But what they miss, what I've come to realize recently, the missing piece in this type of marketing is that you don't realize that all the different types of customers that you create, they overlap. And it is that overlap that you find between all of them that is your target customer. It's your ideal profile of a customer. They don't have to be living in a particular city for you to go and market and find them there. But if there are all three profiles, let's say, are in various different type of cities that you've identified where your ideal customer might live, that means that they are a metro city customer. It's a customer who tends to live in bigger cities because they have certain needs by living in a bigger city that makes them your customer. Often profiles are based on different age groups. If the profile essentially is the same, but it's of different age groups, what makes these different age groups different is their spending ability. It's their, their financial status, let's say, because of the life journey that they're on. When you're younger, just starting to work, etc., you have less money. And also your fashion taste is different from like 10 years later. 10 years later, you have progressed in your career. You have more money. Or you've married, let's say, into money. Your taste has matured. Your taste is no longer into, buying high fashion, wearing it a couple of times and throwing it away and moving on to the next trend-led piece. Your taste might have evolved to buy less, but, keep for longer. Invest in, in more expensive brands. Save money or to spend on something more expensive, or you have the spending power now to upgrade your wardrobe and buy more expensive pieces. When you are another 10 years older, again, your taste will change, your needs will change, your spending ability would be completely different. And maybe you still want to shop from the same brands, but you want to shop from their top tier collection, their most expensive pieces, because you don't want everyone around you to be wearing the same thing as what you're wearing. So it is the same profile of a customer that you're approaching, because they're not going to change the location where they're living. They're not going to change the industry where they're working potentially. That is what is important in your ideal customer. But what is going to be changing is their taste, their needs or desires, and how much money they've got available to spend on the products that they want to buy. So that makes it one profile, not three. It's one profile, but it's through different points of their lifetime and through different points of their professional life, and therefore, spending level that they have available. Now, the other thing that some marketeers talk about, but I don't think that enough focus is placed on the marketing within fashion brands, is the idea that at any one point you're marketing to three different profiles of people. People who have never heard of you as a brand, people who know about you, they've seen, well, maybe they don't know about you, but they've seen, some ads, or they've seen some content about your brand, maybe come across your Instagram or some social media, maybe they started following you, maybe they've heard friends wear and mention your brand, etc. But they don't know enough about you, and they certainly haven't purchased anything from you. And then you have the third type, which are people who know about your brand, they love your brand already, and they trust it because they already have purchased something and they haven't been disappointed. And those three different types of customers, you have to market to them differently. Now, I see a lot of brands who are, the founders are really creative, who want to have more of a kind of arty type of marketing, really high level. Suggestive marketing. They think that by being artistic and really creative, they're going to attract those artistic and creative people. But the problem is that if you are not obvious enough about what you do, how are people going to know that what products you have for sale, that these products they need? Artistic brand marketing and branding is really nice to look at, in my opinion, and there's need for it, obviously, within any brand. But it doesn't convert. It doesn't necessarily convert. It might attract just to look at, but then the people move on to a brand that communicates really well and effectively what they do and why you should buy their product. So this really means that you have to be very clear. In order as a small brand to stand out in this crowded market that we have at the moment, you really need to be clear and immediately communicate to people what product you're selling and whether they need it or they should be desiring it. And that can come through your imagery, that can come through the story and the copy you must be writing as part of your marketing campaigns. And also as a tagline, you really need to come up to a tagline that immediately identifies what type of customer you are targeting and why they should have it. Whether you're going to be solving their problem or whether you are a desirable brand, that they should be, you're tapping into their desire for something. And I don't see that. A lot of brands are just not doing that. And if you look at small brands that have emerged and become big players and very successful, like, for example, Allbirds or Gymshark or Oba Brown or, I don't know, there's lots of examples of brands like this. If you go back in their marketing when they first started, they had one product or very few products. They had very strong marketing that communicated why you need their product, and they had a tagline that communicated that need or desire that they're creating in the customer. And they repeatedly were targeting, and refining their niche and of the ideal customer. And it's only when they have completely proven that their target market is there, when they're generating decent amount of sales repeatedly and have built a solid audience, that is when they perhaps start bringing more products, they evolve their marketing, maybe they're less obvious and they get a little bit more creative and artsy with their marketing, because they already have created a solid brand awareness, and and they have a well-defined and large target market that they're serving. But if you're a new brand, you can't do that. You really need to be more obvious with your marketing. You cannot be too artistic and just allude to what you do. I was talking to someone a few weeks ago who wanted to target, he believed that his product was aimed at people who liked minimalism, and therefore he was using a lot of images of minimalist interiors to sell his product, which was clothing. And it wasn't converting because there was hardly any pictures of the products, and people didn't know, was he an interior designer? Was he just like someone who is promoting the concept of minimalism? What is it? So of course he's not going to convert if people don't know that he is making products for men who like minimalism, who like sustainable products, who are really well made, who are going to products that are going to last a long time and be easy to wear, etc. That was nowhere to be found in his marketing. So you really need to be obvious. Then another thing that I see with some people, especially creative and sort of more introverted brand founders, is that they don't want to put themselves out there and tell their story, why they created the brand, why their product should be, bought versus someone else's brand. And I think that that's a real problem, because people buy from people, especially when you're a small brand. I think the competitive advantage small brands have in this day and age over large brands is the fact that you can so easily connect to your target audience, and they would often buy products from you because they really like you, because they follow your life journey, because they identify with your passion and hard work behind launching your brand. Or they know that you have suffered through a particular problem which has led you to find a solution for yourself, and then create a business around that solution so that other people like you don't suffer anymore. So there would be that instant trust that you're going to create simply because you are telling your story. And if you don't want to do that, then you're competing with large brands who don't have a face. You don't know who's creating the product. You don't know where they're making the product, etc. But that doesn't really matter, because they have the authority. They have the market share. They have the bazillions of testimonials and ratings, and they have big advertising. And when you see them a few times on TV and on the street and in magazines, etc., you, in your mind, you buy into that authority. Whether they are the best solution to your problem or the most desirable product or brand, it doesn't really matter. Your brain, simply because they have seen it so many times, start telling you that if you have this problem or if you have a desire for something, this is the brand for you, because your brain has seen it and processed visually that brand and the information they put out there so many times. And if you're a small brand, you can't compete with that because you don't have the marketing budget. But where you can compete is the connection. The large brands, they have a very on the surface connection to their customers, but they don't necessarily have loyal customers unless they're an incredible brand. But if you're a smaller brand, you have the competitive advantage of being able to really reach out and get to know some of your customers one-on-one and jump on a call and respond, you personally, to a message that they send you on a social media channel. And that means so much to people, that they have the ability to connect to you, to interact with you, to know who you are, to know about your life, etc., etc. So people buy from people. And you will be really missing a trick if you're not putting yourself out there and sharing your story and getting people, letting people to know you in order to convert them to customer and then retain them as customers because they have bought into who you are as a person. Then when you do this connection as part of, creating and building that connection with your customers, you have to storytell. You can't just like put beautiful pictures with like one tagliner or just a quote and imagine that people's imagination is going to get triggered so much that they're going to leave the social media channel and go and search your website and then find out more about you and about your product and spend the time getting to know you and trusting your product and buy. You can't make that assumption because in this day and age, it just doesn't work like this. Our attention span is so short that we just need to capture people and make them on the moment want to have your product. If they go and they're lost on your website and all of a sudden the information on the website is different from the post that got them to go to the website, and they put the product in their basket but they're not sure, they have to think about it, etc., you've lost them. Chances are you've lost them. It will be harder for you to convert them later than if you do your job properly in the first place and you immediately create that need or desire in them and straight away they convert. So that happens through storytelling, and you have to tell your story. And then through storytelling and through your imagery and through testimonials and other methods that you have at your fingertips, everyone's got at their fingertips, you have to make it really obvious. Are you solving a problem for them or are you tapping into a desire that they have? And then position your product as the best product for that emotion. And another thing is that you have to also put yourself in the shoes of your target customer and show them how to use that product. You can't just assume that because the product is right for them that they're going to know how to use your product. So show them how to use your product. A lot of people who buy clothes actually don't have the confidence to know how to wear them, and they love to be told and shown how to wear a product. They love it. And maybe that's one of the reasons why they're not buying it, because maybe they just can't see themselves how to wear the product. But if you show them different styling tips, if you show them other customers when they bought it, how they wore it, etc., that will give them the confidence to see themselves in that product and buy it. Or if you're targeting a particular type of customer, let's say an older audience, but all your marketing is with young models that looking perfect, how are you creating that connection to your ideal target market? How, if they can't see themselves in your product because your marketing is of, showing completely different profile, they're not going to buy. People really want to be able to see themselves using something because, again, they either have the desire for that product or they have the need, but they then need to know what's the next step, how to use this product or how to wear it, how to make it work for them, etc. So that's your job as a creative, as a brand founder, to either do it or find someone who can do it for you. And that leads me on to another point. I sometimes, work with or meet brand founders that are very introverted. They're very good at the creative process. They have real strengths of their personality, but they are not marketeers. And once you launch a brand, once you create a product, your number one job is marketing. You just have to market correctly and efficiently in order to get the sales. And if that is not your strength, then that's okay. But recognize it and then find the means to get someone who can do that job for you. And if you're not comfortable with your picture being shown, find a way to introduce yourself, but you have to introduce yourself. If you don't feel comfortable posting about yourself, get someone to do it for you. But you have to do it because, as I said earlier, people buy from people buy from, they connect to stories that are being told. They like to see examples of how something works and is being utilized in practical, real terms, in real life. And it is your job, by hook or by crook, to do that if you want to get sales. The sales comes as a result of someone liking and trusting your brand and being able to see themselves how to use this product, or desiring it so much because of the content you're creating that they have to find any means possible to get your product. And if you can't do that, then they're going to go somewhere else because there's plenty of brands out there in the market. And if you believe that your product is better than the plethora of mediocre brands that are out there on the market, your job is to find a way to have effective marketing, to communicate to your verified ideal target audience that your product is better than everyone else and that they should buy from you and not someone else. So once you solve these two issues that you might be having, those two challenges of verifying who is your ideal client that you should be selling to and how to connect and market to them, sales will start coming. Then you will encounter the second problem. Okay, so I'm selling, but why am I not selling more? I should be selling more. So that then comes down to your product and pricing. And if you have good product and if your pricing is good as well, and that is verified through the sales you're already getting, then the challenge for you is to make sure that your collections and your product offer and your product range is optimized and you have enough product that allows people to buy at the different life stages and financial capabilities they have. And this is where, again, in my book, I go into that and you can learn more about it, or where my course, Fashion Collections That Sell, that you can find linked to below in the show notes, also goes into real detail and shows you the method to the madness of creating fashion collections, because anyone can create a fashion collection. And I see a lot of brands who think that they have fashion collections because they've grouped a few products together that they think is a collection. But actually, there's a real strategy behind the collection that results in sales, and not just in sales, but repeat sales. There is a real strategy and method behind creating products that attract the right customers, convert them, not just once, but convert them repeatedly. So these customers keep coming back and wanting to buy more from you. And there's an art, there's a structure, there's a formula to how you create collections like this. And when you learn that structure and formula, which by the way is not difficult, you just have to really understand the concepts behind it and then apply it and simplify what you have already based on the understanding and knowledge that you would acquire through learning how to create commercial collections. And then it becomes so much easier for you to create collections that are efficient, collections that are commercial, products that are attractive and attract the right customers and convert them repeatedly into buyers. But another thing that you would gain that you don't even realize is that not only would you be selling more with less effort, but you would be saving so much time to focus on other areas of your business that would really require you as your business starts growing. But also you would be saving money, so much money you would be saving on developing new products, reinventing the wheel, which is totally not necessary, and your marketing will be simplified. Because when you have collections that are efficient and commercial and repeatedly bringing new customers, and they are feeding also your existing customers into and converting them to buy repeatedly, then you really, by this point, would have enough data to know how to market even more efficiently to new customers, attract them and bring them to your brand. Customers who are kind of, I know about you, but I'm not sure, I haven't yet bought anything from you. And especially those customers who have bought from you already. Your job as a brand founder who wants to have a business that is thriving, a fashion business, a fashion brand that's thriving and selling repeatedly and a lot, your job is to find a way for your brand name to be on the bank statement of your customers repeatedly, which basically means that you don't want to be constantly trying to find new customers to buy once and then you lose them. You want to find customers who buy once, their mind is blown away by how amazing your product is, and they buy repeatedly. They tell everyone, so you get the word of mouth marketing, which is the most efficient form of marketing. But also they buy repeatedly from you. They anticipate your next product launch. They buy more of the same product that they've already bought in the same color or in a new color, etc. They really become loyal customer. And that is the name of the game. This is how you grow a brand and make money and get paid. And you develop a business that you love, and also it provides for your livelihood. So anyway, this is it, really. And this is the challenge for most brand founders. Launching a brand really is a dodo. It's super simple compared to what it takes to develop it and grow it. Making product is challenging, but it's way more challenging to, after that, market and sell that product and have the conviction and confidence to keep on marketing and selling that product to your audience, and not run away and spend even more money on developing new products because this one you think is not selling or not working, and you think you got it wrong and you go in a completely different direction, because then that would just lead you to be even more lost and disheartened and lose your confidence, and you start sort of swimming in all of these negative feelings and energies that are just not going to help you to move forward with your business. So if you would like to know more about it, like I said, there's plenty of information I've shared in my book, Become a Fashion Insider. Link to it is below in the show notes. If you are at a point where you want to sell more, or you want to know how to create an effective collection from the beginning, join Fashion Collections That Sell course. It's a game changer. There's nothing like it on the market. And in no time, you're going to learn how to design, structure, and market efficiently a collection that's going to sell and make you money. And if you want an audit, if you can't see, if you think that, I cannot see why my brand is not working, if you're about to launch or launched, etc., get in touch with me. We can jump on a call and I can tell you what I see, all the areas that you can improve on. That's what my Power Hour is for. So jump on a call. It's really well worth the time. In 1 hour, you would get a real sense of clear direction of what you need to change, where you need to go, what you need to do in order to fix your problem. And it would save you time and money trying to figure it out by yourself, and buying more courses and talking to lots of people that give you free advice and they don't know what they're talking about necessarily. So send me a DM, get in touch with me. There's various different ways in which I can help you. Make use of them. So that's it. I hope this was useful. And I'd love to hear your comments. If you have any questions about this content and what I've just shared, if you want to share something with me, feel free to drop me a DM or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with other people that can benefit. So that's it for today. I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, thank you for tuning into the show and listening all the way to the end. If you want to know more about any information referred to in this episode, we've got all the links listed in the show notes, which you can find over at www.fashioninsiders.co/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show and get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you. Email me your questions to insider@fashioninsiders.co or just send me a DM over on Instagram. Finally, I'd really appreciate it if you could open up the app on your phone and leave me a super quick rating or review. Your reviews tell iTunes that this is a great podcast and it's worthwhile listening and sharing. And that can help me and my guests reach even more people. So that's it for today. I'll be back soon with another episode. And until then, thank you again for listening.